Okay, I might need a little bit of help when it comes to making sure that we're going in the right order. So, because remember, I moved that one item, but right now, let's do the. We'll do the presentation in a moment. Let's get through the council roundtable, which is different than comments. Council roundtable is items of general interest.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yes.
I don't think we ever approved the consent agenda.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See, she knew exactly who I was talking to keep me on track. I would need an approval for the consent agenda, as if you remember right, as amended.
Also, Mayor, I have one more thing.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to pull off B real quick and discuss before we approve that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Can we pull B for discussion as well? B is in boy.
Oh yeah.
We've
sure.
already pulled E. Can
Yep.
we pull B as in boy?
We can pull B for discussion.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, C, D, and F, and we're pulling items B and E. Okay. I need a second. Yep.
Second.
Okay, hold on. Yes, Mr. Wood. Okay. All right, so Councilmember Forte, would you please make a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended by Councilmember Forte, seconded by Councilmember DeMoro. Discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Edson. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Forte.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Felker. Councilmember DeMoro.
Aye.
Aye. That's right. Okay, then we need to go ahead and quickly get to those items that we just pulled. The first one is the mayor's appointment, Human Relations Commission, Fel Bagunu, as the member of the faith community sector. Councilmember Carlisle?
Thank you, Mayor. When I was looking at his information under this agenda item, I see that he lives in Kansas City, and I thought that we had discussed prior that we were not going to appoint people who did not live in Lee Summit to these boards and commissions. So I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can have Mr. Arbo, if you want to get staff on it. Before I appointed this person, I did see that they were not current resident. They've been a resident for like 30 years, and then they moved. And that particular committee did not have a requirement, commission that is, did not have a requirement that everyone be a citizen. It has bylaws that state that you can have a member of the faith community and such. And he's replacing Pastor Beasley, who stepped off the board.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, this specific commission does not have a requirement that all the commissioners be Lee Summit residents. Is that what you said?
Correct.
And that there's I didn't catch the rest. That you can appoint people for specific.
Yeah, they have the bylaws of that commission says that you can have so many that need to be citizens, and then you can have other people, one from the business sector, one from the faith sector, that type of thing. The D&I commission, we as a group, when we did that, we set the resolution that they would all be a citizen of Lee Summit. There's other commissions and boards that they're not all citizens. This person just has given a lot back to this community and is a faith leader.
Mr. Mayor?
Who was that?
Over here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, I think, I know it's there, and you and I had this conversation over the weekend, but I do have I have the statute, or the ordinance in front of us, and it just says the Human Relations Commission consisting of 8 citizen members, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of open, it doesn't say that in that sentence, of course, that they have to be a resident of Lee Summit. I would like to suggest, though, that, and I'm not Mayor Pro Tem, but I would think maybe our Rules Committee ought to kind of look at this, and because I do think on most of these commissions, they're really Lee Summit based and reference Lee Summit, and I think probably we ought to adopt a rule or an ordinance that says that on these Lee Summit commissions that we have and boards, that they should be Lee Summit residents, or at least have the committee look at it and have a public hearing on it and have a recommendation of the full council.
Councilmember Shields?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, since we are in the middle of reorganizing the boards and commissions, and I believe the Human Relations Commission, is that going to be one that's subject to reorganization, or eventually maybe, wasn't that one that's going to be down the road we were thinking?
I think anything down the road can happen.
Well, sure. Well, I guess that said, maybe when we're doing this reorganization, that might also be a convenient time to have a discussion in general about the makeup of the boards and commissions, even the ones that are not being reorganized, and what the membership would be. It seems like kind of a good time to discuss that area as a whole. So, I mean, I would personally be fine with Pastor Bagunu. He's on Lee Summit Cares with me, and I know his church, I believe, is located in Lee Summit, so I know he's serving the community directly. But I can understand if other council members want to maybe relook at exactly who's eligible to serve on those groups.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Felker.
Thank you, Mayor. So, like Councilmember Shields, I actually used to be on the board with Fel, and he is a good man and has been dedicated to our community. I also will agree with my other fellow council members that this is something I think we need to give some consideration to. And as I'm reflecting on what Councilmember Carlisle had said earlier, I feel like maybe what you're saying is that we'd had a conversation about this so recently that all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, all of a sudden we're now looking again at an appointment that would be somewhat not in the spirit of what we had discussed just a few weeks ago. So I would just echo that as a concern. Again, I mean, we've gone through this with a couple other really great community members like Dr. Ngumsi with the who we wanted to have on the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, as well as Councilwoman Rana Park Shaw, who is also connected to our community, that I think good people. But I think we need to really determine, whether there is or are committees or commissions that by their nature might merit having a non-citizen, meaning non-Lee Summit citizen in them, or not, so I think we'll need to come to some, I don't know, when I think of our committees and our commissions and so forth, I don't know that there are any that I put in that category, but there could be. So again, I'll also just kind of voice again, echoing what Councilmember Carlisle said, as much as I applaud the work of Pastor Baguna. Thank you, Mayor.
You need to finish that as much as you
applaud the work of.
Yeah. So, where are we going, everyone? We have 20-some commissions and boards, so I need more direction. Do we need to push it to rules, like Councilmember Johnson's saying? We need to discuss all 20 of the boards, and because we'd have to look at all the bylaws of all of them because they're all specific. Okay. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'm along with Councilmember Shields' comments. I'm comfortable with proceeding with your recommended replacement for this commission for tonight's purpose, but I'm completely okay with assigning this to the Rules Committee for further discussion to look at the residency issue for these boards and commissions. With your permission, I'm happy to do so.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I'm not trying to, like Councilmember Felker said, Fel Baguna he's gold. He'll understand if we don't approve him tonight. So I appreciate that, but I just want direction because we got 20 commissions and boards, and if we're going to do that, I need more direction than that because I thought I was following the bylaws, if that makes sense. So, do you see what I'm saying? Councilmember Johnson, go with your direction.
Well, I just want to make it clear, I'm not opposing this nomination this evening. But and Mayor, you and I discussed this Saturday, on this board in particular, we have 100,000 people in this city, and none from the 4th Council District are on this commission. So we go outside of the city to find somebody when there's a fourth of the city that's not represented. So with that in mind, I thought maybe, as I said, and Mayor Pro Tem suggested that the Rules Committee look at it. So I'd like to see the Rules Committee look at it, and we're a big city.
I think I would like the Rules Committee to look at it, because if I'm going to be held accountable to that, for what you just said, which is 4th District, that's not part of the appointment process. It doesn't say in the bylaws that I have to make sure someone's in the 4th District. I would love to make sure there's an equal number of each person in each district. So it's not very easy. So let's just withdraw this and push this. There's no reason to keep going on this. It's not worth it.
I don't think anybody opposes this nomination tonight.
I think you're wrong, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to support this nomination.
All right.
Mayor.
Somebody withdraw this for me. Councilmember DeMoro, please withdraw this person for me.
I was just going to comment that I think it would be a good move. The Mayor Pro Tem mentioned to send it to the Rules Committee and edit, or not edit, but look at the boards and commissions and maybe start considering the adoption of citizens from Lee Summit. I don't know how much work that would be, but I think the Rules Committee would be the correct one to do it. And again, if the nomination goes forward, so be it. I think it's a good move.
Mayor.
Councilmember Edson.
I'd support this nomination too, but yeah, you need clarity. You need clarity from the council. So support sending it to rules so you have clarity, so we don't get into this. Every time you appoint somebody is the right thing to do.
I appreciate that. I'm fine with moving forward. I do want you to know I do interview every single person that I put on a board. So there's a lot of time and consideration that goes into this. So that's why it's frustrating when I'm trying to appoint people, and then there's a different interpretation of the bylaws and such. So we do need clarity. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, would you please put this or assign this to rules? And rules, please figure out, the direction for all of the commissions and such. So I'm sure legal can help with that. So if you're comfortable, I'm going to call for the vote.
I just have one more thing, Mayor.
Yes.
And I have no problem appointing this person tonight. That's not the point of this whole thing. It is just that I thought we had the discussion. It would be Lee Summit residents. You might also want to ask the Rules Committee when we're looking at this to look at what we do with people who are on the committees that do not live in Lee Summit. Since we are getting ready to appoint one, I hate to kick him off in a month. So if you'd have them look at that as well. Thank you.
Do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, I would need someone to read item B.
And are we reading for adoption, approval, consent? What's the verbiage?
Mr. Head? Approval.
May I?
Yes, please.
Mayor, I move to approve item 2021-4586, Mayor's Appointments Human Relations Commission, appoint Fel Bagunu as a member representing the faith community sector as stated in Ordinance 8350, Exhibit A, term to expire 7/6/24.
I have a motion to approve bill number, which one is it again? 21, I'm sorry.
It's 2B on the agenda.
I know, I got my agenda moved.
4586, Mayor.
Yeah, 4586 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by
Me.
Councilmember Edson. Discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Forte.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Felker. Councilmember DeMoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Shields,
Aye.
Councilmember Edson,
Aye.
Mayor Beard.
Aye. Okay, that takes us to agenda item, what was agenda item 2E. Is that correct? A bill number 21-245 needs to be amended. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, I think you have the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move that Bill number 21-245 be amended by adding the following to subsection number 1 of section 2. Except that existing lots in the phase platted at the Villas of Chapel Ridge, first plat lots 1 through 42, and tracks A1 and B1 shall remain subject to requirement for the tile roofs.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
I have a second from motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez to amend item bill number 21-245, and a second by Councilmember Edson. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Shields.
just as a matter of procedure, do we need to have a motion to adopt that first and then amend the motion to
Yes,
adopt?
that is correct.
My amendment is to recommend it to be read for second reading, is what I'm recommending.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to recommend approve bill number 21-245 by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Edson. Discussion. Now, sir, would you amend it?
Yes. I move that Bill number 21-245 be amended by adding the following subsection 1 of section 2. Reads, except that existing lots in the phase platted at the Villas of Chapel Ridge, first plat lots 1 through 42, and tracks A1 and B1 shall remain subject to the requirements for the tile roofs.
Okay.
Second.
I have an amendment by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion on the amendment. Okay, I need a roll call vote on the amendment.
Councilmember Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Forte,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Felker, Councilmember DeMoro,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Shields,
Aye.
Mayor Beard.
Aye. Okay, now I need a discussion on the bill as amended. Any discussion? Okay, then I need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Felker, Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Forte,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Edson,
Aye.
Councilmember Shields,
Aye.
Mayor Beard.
Aye. All right, that takes us to Council Roundtable. Items of general interest, anything going on in the community? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Just a general comment that downtown looks absolutely beautiful right now, and I highly encourage everybody to shop small, shop local as they complete their Christmas shopping. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, are there any public comments this evening? Ms. Crystal Weber?
We had no comments submitted in advance, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, that gets us to the presentation. We have a presentation. It is item number, help me out here. Thank you, sir. 7A, it's a presentation from the Commission for Diversity and Inclusion. We have Steve Arbo and Alan Gray presenting tonight. Oh, no, Susan Wilson and Alan Gray are presenting. Do you need Steve? Crystal, can you come up and help with the presentation, please?
Well, good evening. My name is Alan Gray, and I'm chairman of the Lee Summit Diversity and Inclusion Commission. And with me, I have our co-chair, Susan Wilson. And we have been charged with an awesome responsibility to lead an initiative that will ultimately, in 18 months, result in a plan for diversity and inclusion for the city of Lee Summit. I want to thank Mayor Barrett for this opportunity and the City Council for the adoption of this commission, and want to assure you that we have taken our charge with the utmost seriousness and believe that this is a historic opportunity for the City of Lee Summit to move forward and to embrace diversity and inclusion. I'd also like to take a moment to introduce our commission members who are present, and beginning with Rachel Courtney. Would you stand, please? Fred Grogan, Melanie Harding, Lorenzo Harrison, Barb Henson, Levi Holland, Sharon Ivey, Sadia Mahmood, Ben Martin, Claudia Meyer, Bryce Presley, Karen Schuler, and Dr. Roger Williams. These individuals have been working tirelessly. With first Thursday of the month, you'll find us at City Hall working to put forward the expectations under Resolution 21-01. I want to remind you what this resolution has asked for us to do, and that's one, to bring individual perspectives and experiences of the residents of Lee Summit to the table. That means, in short, that means that we're bringing all voices and lenses and to create a better understanding of what diversity, equity, and inclusion are for the city of Lee Summit. We've been asked to listen and learn regarding differing viewpoints. We've been asked, along with that charge, to grow as a commission. We are learning, we are educating ourselves as part of this process, Mayor. And this is a continuing process. It's a growth process for both the commission and the residents of Lee Summit as we go through the work of the commission. It is our desire to improve the quality of life for diverse citizenry so that all voices are heard and all lenses and perspectives are valued.
So the resolution 2101 was created so that City Council could create a commission, a first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission in Lee Summit. Lee Summit is growing, the demographics are changing, and we want to be a model of how communities understand different perspectives that are critical to the community's future success. The commission also strives to create a culture of inclusion and openness and promote that throughout the city. Also, as you know, we'll be doing an assessment to really look at the current state of diversity and inclusion in Lee Summit. And of course, diversity means who's all in the room, and inclusion means who's all included in the process. And so both of those things are important. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding about what those two terms mean, but simply that's what they mean. And we want to create a framework to encourage measurable actions, because as you know, a plan that doesn't have any measurable actions really doesn't go anywhere. So the scope of duties for the commission. One is, and that's laid out in the ordinance, to conduct a community and city organization needs assessment. And although some might feel, well, the commission could do that themselves, it's really important to have both transparency and objectivity, and someone to do it that doesn't have a vested interest in what the outcome is, but is coming at this from an objective perspective. Also to create a statement of findings, which will be the report of what the assessment has found out. To develop a vision statement for our work in Lee Summit, and also to identify some best practices. This is not new. These are issues that cities all over the country have addressed. And so really to identify what's worked with other cities similar to ours, knowing that, you know, our situation may be different and we want to tailor an approach to our particular community. And lastly, to conduct a 5-year action plan. Now, it's important, one caveat that we want to talk about here is diversity is a very wide lens. It includes every way in which people are different and groups are different, and we will not be able to address each and every diversity and inclusion issue that exists in our community, because that scope becomes so large, it's beyond our ability to do that. But we do want to hit the major points and the major perspectives in our community.
So for further clarification in terms of the commission, I want to explain that the commission reports to the city council. The commission has been empowered, if you will, to take on this challenge, but the end result will be a plan that will be presented to the city council for approval, an action plan, as Susan stated. We've had a pretty aggressive timeline. Today marks our 6-month activity report. We'll give another report in 12 months that will share information on the needs assessment that will be conducted. And in 18 months, we'll have the full vision and action plan to present before the council. There's a lot of work that's going to be done, a lot of work that is being done by the committees, and I just want to acknowledge the hard work that they are. And Mayor, I couldn't ask for a better commission to work with. So during this last 6 months, we've conducted 8 commission meetings. The meetings average about 2 hours each evening. And we have had participation in terms of public comment at pretty much every meeting. And I would encourage the general public to look in on our meetings and provide us with comments. We welcome those, and that will help us to do our work. Secondly, we've established 7 working committees, and you'll hear more about those committees shortly. And we created a vision statement, and I want to make a correction. This says mission statement, and we will be creating a mission statement. However, the first step was to create a vision statement, which you'll also hear hear about later.
So, the vision statement, and as you know, vision and mission statements can take a long time for a group to put together, but our group worked diligently to put together a vision statement that we thought might reflect the entire community. So the first aspect of our vision statement is Lee's Summit embraces the differences in our community because we are becoming more and more diverse. The second piece is valuing each individual's culture, background, and identity, and striving to promote mutual respect and understanding and representation to all. And thirdly, we're committed to eliminating barriers, improving access to resources, and creating growth opportunities throughout the community. So to accomplish this, we have working committees. We have a committee that's focusing on the business community and trying to get a sense of what are the diversity and inclusion issues and needs that business community faces. Culture and arts is another one. And youth and education, it's important to say that as that committee looks at things like family as attached to youth, we're mainly looking at families and youth, not the whole entirety of what families are. So also, there's a committee to look at the vision statement, guiding principles, and that's the committee that will also work on the final mission statement. And then the needs assessment and issue identification, looking at gaps in the community and needs in the community. There's a health and wellness committee looking at that aspect, and we're hoping to partner with an existing group in the community that's been looking at this issue. And then the City of Lee Summit organization. That committee has not yet been activated, but we're also that committee is going to be looking at the city itself and diversity and inclusion issues there.
So our next section of our presentation, we'd like to have the committee chairs to come forward for their presentations, and we will hear more in depth about the work that they've been doing. And while they're approaching, I just want to say that they have brought forward a structure for the commission to work within. They have been a bevy of ideas and enthusiasm. And I just want to say that it's an easy job as a commissioner to work with these individuals because we've got like Class A individuals that are working to do the work of the commission. So first of all, we have the business community.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. The Business Working Committee includes, in addition to myself, Lorenzo Harrison, Levi Holland, Claudia Meyer, and Karen Schuler. Together, we have been working on an educational process that we hope will lead to a process that gives us a dialogue with the business community about diversity. What we hope to do is to reach out to them, first of all, to learn before we try to assess the larger business community. We have designed a presentation about the work of the Diversity and Inclusion Commission and the goals of the business community that we plan to send out to about 20 businesses, with each of our commissioners interviewing those members. We want to send that information out first so they understand what it is that we are about, and then we plan to engage them in a dialogue about what they are doing as far as diversity and inclusion in their own organization, as well as their understanding of what the needs, their needs are, and what the larger business community's needs are. We hope to take that information from them prior to developing a larger assessment, a survey that will be sent out to a larger representative group of businesses within our community to obtain a larger, more representative sample. We're working with Director Elam in the services, development services, to provide us with information about the classification of businesses so that that survey can be done in the most representative way possible. We've also begun work on developing specific questions that we will engage them in discussion. We'll share those questions with them ahead of time so they know what it is that we will be talking about, and we plan for it simply to be a informal discussion that will go where they hope to lead that. The assessment report that we come up to will be the basis for the future recommendations that we give. In the meantime, until we get to that point where we can collect that data, we are trying to educate ourselves further about the state of diversity and inclusion within the larger business community. We're collecting research articles about diversity and inclusion within business, particularly focused upon what are the documented benefits to businesses themselves for that. And we've collected some very interesting information that I think will be of benefit to businesses as well as to our work. So we look forward to being able to take the next step and actually begin that engagement with the Business Commission in the future.
There we go. And my name is Ben Martin, and I'm the chair of the Culture and Arts Commission, our committee. And we have a number of our members here. If you'll raise your hands and wave and acknowledge that, that would be great. Thank you. You've done a very dangerous thing. You have given a theater guy a microphone, so beware. If 45 minutes from now I'm still talking, just stop me, okay? So the presentation on the Culture and Arts Commission, our committee, basically has 4 points to it. The first thing that we have done is meet with a number of the leaders of the cultural arts groups within the city. Glenda Masters, who's the cultural arts manager for the city of Lee Summit, was part of those meetings. We also met with leaders from the Lee Summit Symphony, from Summit Art, and from the Summit Theater Group. We've also then met with individual artists, individual performers, visual artists, and so on, and we hope to continue to do that. Many of them in Lee Summit. We hope to meet with people from outside of Lee Summit so that we get a sense of what the perspectives are about how people view Lee Summit within the arts, the greater arts community within the metropolitan area as well. And especially, we're trying to make sure that we include people of color involved in the arts in those meetings too, to make sure that we get a full, well-rounded view of what Lee Summit is when it comes to culture and the arts. So why? This conversation that we're having here has actually been going on within the arts community nationwide for years now, about how to broaden the appeal of the arts to people throughout the community, throughout the nation, in all walks of life within the nation. A lot of it has to do with simply we have to make sure that people are coming to theater, coming to music, and participating in them, because that's the only way that they remain economically viable. So the questions then that we had are, how is the Lee Summit Arts community addressing issues of diversity and inclusion? What are we doing well? What are areas where we need to improve and do better? Do our perceptions that we have of ourselves match up with the perceptions that others have of us from other parts of the city, other parts of the state even? So that actually brings me to the second bullet point here, seeking information related to potential opportunities for diverse organizations and artists themselves. And we have heard that, and we're trying to confirm that, there are other organizations within Lee Summit and from outside of Lee Summit that want to be a part of the arts community and the culture of Lee Summit, but they perceive that there are a number of barriers there that prevent them from doing that, from being a part of what we do. And we're trying to identify what those barriers might actually be, and then to come up with perhaps recommendations of ways that we can eliminate those barriers, make those barriers go away. A third bullet point then occurs quite naturally. Cultural arts can actually be a common point of understanding. This is something I think we realized very early on with the entire commission, that there is a real potential for culture and the arts to be a sparking point, I think, where we can make some real changes happen and bring some people together through the arts. I mean, the arts community has the potential to be a place where diverse voices are not only accepted, but they're celebrated and valued. And that could lead to a much broader acceptance throughout the entire community and interaction between people of all different kinds of backgrounds. However, we're not ready to celebrate just yet because across the country, like I said, arts organizations are still struggling with these issues. We heard that from our own organizations too. Over and over, we heard the idea that we would like to be as diverse as possible. We'd like to appeal to as diverse an audience as possible and have as diverse a group of participants as possible. We're not sure how. We're not sure how to do that within the confines of our particular art and art organization. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to have to work on as a commission, and especially as a committee, to try to make sure that those things are happening. And that brings us down to point number 4. The expansion of knowledge continues for committee members. When we started, we realized that not all of the committee members had a real good sense of what was actually going on in the arts within Lee Summit. And so we especially wanted to start that process of finding out what exactly there is. And although I'm very connected with the arts community here, there are a number of things that I didn't realize, that I didn't know about, that I think I'm discovering now as well. So we're still searching for those answers. We'll continue to meet with varying groups. We're going to be meeting with artists. We're going to be meeting with administrators. We want to meet with civic leaders. We want to meet with the kids at the skate park. We want to meet with the seniors at John Knox Village. We want to meet with anybody who may have a perspective on arts and culture that we need to take into consideration when we're talking about diversity and inclusion in Lee Summit. So that's pretty much where we are as far as the Culture and Arts Committee is concerned. And now we'll turn it over next.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening. I am, Ben, your mask. You may want that in a second. Mask. Thanks. Good evening. My name is Sharon Ivey. I am the chair of the Youth and Education Committee, along with my co-chair, Rachel Courtney. And then we also have members, Ben Martin and then Bryce Presley, who was unable to be here this evening. So when we started out on this particular subcommittee, the title of it was Youth, Children, Teen, Families, and Education. And that was a lot of area to cover. So in our initial meetings, we really started thinking about who those stakeholders are as it relates to youth and family and children and teens. And we realized that we really needed to narrow the scope down. And as Chair Dr. Wilson stated earlier, we really decided to narrow that down to households or other entities that have a connection or a tie to someone under the age of 18, while also flagging other issues that may relate to other family units, however they may be defined. So as we talked about our different stakeholders groups, we looked at businesses, educational institutions, be it the school districts, those early education providers, daycares, private institutions, those who are providing some type of education to our children, services, be it tutoring, healthcare, other transportation opportunities. We saw that a myriad of issues were starting to bubble up, and you can see some of those on the screen. Access to technology or transportation, either getting to an extracurricular activity or being able to participate in something within the community, as you know, has been mentioned. Health services, what types of services are located here in Lee Summit, or what's needed or what's missing. Social activities, not only being able to go to the skate park, but what other creative activities or opportunities are there for our youth and our families within the community. And again, those educational opportunities, not only looking at the institutions, but then the tutoring services and other support services that help our youth within the city. So I'm going to jump down to bullet number 3 there, where we talked about identifying cross-committee issues. As we began talking about all these stakeholders, we realized that there's some overlap. So we wanted to make sure that we are collaborating with our other subcommittees to make sure that when they are reaching out to an arts institution or a business provider that may touch our youth or touch our families, that they are being looking at their questions or having those interviews with that lens of not only how is business or the arts or what other areas they're focused on, how are those impacting youth? So taking, the broader lens of diversity and inclusion, but then narrowing that down to also think about how youth and families are impacted by those entities. And then we're in the early stages of creating a work plan. Given the broad scope of the areas that touch youth and family, we have a lot of stakeholders that we want to connect with throughout the Lee Summit area, and then expanding our knowledge. Obviously, again, given the broad area of organizations that touch on youth and family and education, there is a lot of things that are happening in those different areas. So as we're expanding our own personal knowledge, doing our research and conducting meetings and interviews, we're also asking those entities, who else should we be talking to? Because they may be aware of other information, other resources, other connections that will provide us a broader lens into what's happening within the city. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to my next participant.
I will provide balance to Ben's long-winded presentation because Health and Wellness is a recently formed committee. In all of the discussions that we've had in the other committees, we identify things that we see kind of need to be pulled out and looked at in more detail. And one of those things is Health and Wellness. And there are 2 of us on it. We were recently appointed, Levi Holland and myself. So we're just getting started, but we have a meeting set up with the Health Education Advisory Board co-chairs to start there to see where they are, what they see in the community, gather information from them, kind of get a pulse of how they feel like things are, and discuss what other organizations in the community might be able to give us good information so that we can get a pulse on how those things are going. And I'm not exactly following my bulletins there, but that's generally where we are, but we're just getting started. So we'll see where this leads us.
Hello, everyone. It's really great to be in front of you tonight after our work over the last few months. We've got a good start on the work and really some big work ahead of us. I'm with the Needs Assessment and Issue Identification Committee, along with Lorenzo Harrison, and our work has just begun. The staff had spent some good time with developing a scope of work and an RFP to find a partner for us in the needs assessment process. They have identified vendors for that and did due diligence in doing that investigation and making a selection. Our commission has provided input on the firm's activities and their scope. And that scope really falls into 2 parts. The assessment report will provide information regarding kind of the current state, the current snapshot related to the City of Lee Summit itself, the city organization, and also the Lee Summit community more broadly. We really wanted a professional partner in this process so that as we get to our findings and recommendations, we can all really understand that that was done the right way, a professional way, something we could all get behind. And you've seen this bullet point on the other slides. For our group, like all the others, we continue to learn and grow and develop this as we move forward.
Well, I guess I have a new career on moving slides forward. The next area is Vision Statement and Guiding Principles Committee. My name is on here simply because this was a group process, and I want to recognize Karen Schuler for her skeleton that she put forward, but I also want to recognize the members of the commission who went through a vision statement that is substantial, it's important, it's inclusive, and it covers the full gambit of the areas that we want to intend to cover. But the process was important as the product, and I had never seen a commission or any group come together and coalesce as quickly as we did around this vision statement. And that speaks to the importance of this issue. It speaks to the abilities of the commissioners that we've assembled, and we have a compass point now that will guide the commission. So that item has been completed. The mission statement will be part of the final report. The mission statement will be part of the final report in addition to the vision statement. And again, you've heard the commissioners talk about expanding knowledge, and that's one of the threads that goes throughout our work. We started out agreeing, I think it was at the first meeting, that we were going to have a common language, and so that each of us, when we talk about items, we're clear what the other individual really means. What perspective, what experiences, what values are you bringing to the language? And so this is something that it is our intent to push forward, push out into the community so that we as a community can collectively have a common language around diversity and inclusion. That is very important. That's extremely important. I want to underscore that. So when we say that we're educating ourselves, we are learning. And I gave the commissioners homework, you recall? And I won't tell you what that homework was, not yet. But each commissioner has had homework that is used to guide them each time that they meet. And so with that, I'm going to hand this over to Steve.
Okay, so you've heard it several times. I'll be very brief about it, but we are getting to a point where these fine volunteers are doing everything that they can on their own, but there comes a point in time when we're trying to get a sense of where we are as a city organization, as a community. And so as a city manager, I have committed myself to being the lead staff person in support. In addition, Stacy Lombardo, our deputy city clerk, has been a tremendous help and also been the support behind the scene in preparing the meetings and getting the reports completed and responding to emails and those type of things. So we're getting to the point where as mentioned, we created a scope of work. We found 9 respondents that responded to our call for proposals, and then through a committee of staff members and Ms. Dana Cutler, we narrowed it down to a finalist. That finalist has been interviewed. We've negotiated a fee. And we're getting now we're becoming to the point where we'll be presenting that agreement at the January 3rd Finance and Budget Committee for their consideration, and then hopefully moving further, it could be as early as the January 4th or the January. I guess I have to add 4 and 7, the January 11th meeting. But we're looking forward to having the City Council give consideration to that. Again, why do we need to bring an outside firm to do the snapshot? One is that we want to make sure that the response that we get is tied to the profile, the diversity profile of both the city and the organization. So if I'll just use the city organization, for example, if we have a certain percentage of a diverse set of people, we want to make sure that when we are measuring the assessment for our organization, that voice is fairly represented in the information and the snapshot that's been given by that assessor. And the same with the community as a whole. As always, we look at the strategic plan adopted by the council. This is why we're doing our work, because it was a part of the strategic plan. It was under community engagement. The statement was that we should be focused to create a healthy and a balanced community for all voices. And one of the tasks that was approved in the strategic plan by the council was to develop new approaches for inclusive engagement. So as I mentioned, there will be some funding needs that will continue to work. Councilmember Felker, I think when we were talking about the resolution, you clearly stated that there should be an understanding of that there will be some kind of budget that will be needed to support the work of this. So this is me coming forward and letting you all know what that budget amount is. With the great volunteer group that we have here, we've been able to keep it relatively low, but we will need money for the assessment study. We've negotiated that scope of work to be $72,000 for that, for both the organizational review and the community-wide review, and that includes that firm physically coming into our city and connecting with us and having that personal conversation with us as well. I have been speaking with Dana Cutler, who was very helpful in the beginning of our work in creating the baseline for us to move forward. And I am hoping that I can bring her forward for the City Council's consideration, for her to help this group in actually crafting and writing that final report and that action report. I've talked to her, and she has interest in doing that, and I know that we all have a high level of confidence and trust in her. So I just wanted to let you know that I'll be coming to the council and seeking your direction in moving in that. And that wouldn't occur, if you remember the timeline, that wouldn't occur until close to the end of the 18-month period. After the assessment's done at the 12-month period, they begin discussing their action steps in their plan. I would like to bring in Ms. Cutler towards the end of that so that she can consolidate the work and then help us in the presentation. And as we move through that time period, I'll continue to be active and supportive of this group, as well as Stacy Lombardo. And I think that I would turn it over to the two chairs for the remainder of the program, please.
Well, this brings us to the formal end of the report, but I just want to read this vision statement once again. Lee Summit embraces the differences in our community. We value each individual culture, background, and identity, and strive to promote mutual respect and understanding and representation to all. We are committed to eliminating barriers, improving access to resources, and creating growth opportunities throughout the community. We're pleased to give you this 6-month report, and we hope that you have questions and that we have continued to make you pleased and proud of this commission and the work. But this is just the first step, and we're looking forward to the conclusion of our work in 18 months and the continuation of diversity and inclusion as a compass point for the city of Lee Summit. So with this, we'll open up the floor for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Discussion? Yes, sir. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I just wanted to, actually it came to my mind when Ms. Wilson referenced you're not going to consider all of the various terms that have been used in diversity consideration. And I get that. There's a lot of terms. But one, I want to make sure that you don't forget, and I have my census figures here to give a basis for it. I have to get my reading glasses on. I want to make sure that the entire commission does not forget that people over 65 live here. We're not out to pasture at that age, and it happens to be a very large segment of our population. It actually, These are census figures. These are not ours. People over 65 are 15.3% of our population, which actually exceeds, except for children, every other item for the most part, except for Caucasian. But I just want to, I guess I want you to tell me, are you going to consider older people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify, what I was talking about, and I've been doing diversity and inclusion work for a long time. I was Vice Chancellor of Diversity and Inclusion for UMKC. What invariably happens is if you have one person who is a Tibetan monk in your community, they call and say, well, why doesn't your plan include Tibetan monks? And all I was saying there is a number of diversity issues and people are unfathomable. We're going to focus on the components of our community, which older people, since I'm in that group as well, are not going to be forgotten. But that's what I was more speaking to, the very low incidence groups where there's one or two people that have an axe to grind or an issue, and they're saying, well, why aren't we included? We're trying to be as inclusive as possible, but we're sure we're going to miss someone where there may be one or two people in the community, and we will try to be responsive to them, but the plan has to focus on what are the main groups in our community that fit the demographic profile that we talked about, and certainly older people are in that group.
And I want to remind you, Councilmember Bob Johnson, that I think when we started this conversation, you and I were both under that 65 age, year of age.
Beyond that now.
But to our point, we said earlier, this is a launching point for diversity and inclusion for the city of Lee Summit. This is by no means the end of this discussion, the end of the commitment, and I want to emphasize that. What we're doing is not creating a program. And that's one of the problems that companies often have, organizations often have, is that they approach diversity and inclusion as a program. This is not a program. Your charge is for us to create a better quality of life. And to do that, we will take this plan and incorporate that plan into ways that are integrated and become part of the DNA of our community. We want this to be something that we're known for, that we embrace, and that people around the community, around the region, around the country look to Lee Summit as a leader. Again, I say a compass point for diversity and inclusion.
Just don't want, if you want to see us, we're at all the pickleball courts.
Oh, no, that's a good thought.
Thank you. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. Mainly, I just wanted to thank you all for your work on this so far. I can tell that there's been a lot of thought put into this. I really appreciated hearing from each of the individual subcommittees talking about what they've done so far, about how much they want to learn and how they're communicating with the community, how they're thinking about communicating with the community, that it's not just they're really seeking information. They're really seeking to understand, was what I came away from that presentation. I really appreciate that. And you just got me to thinking, listening to this, about how we have all of these different plans and studies for the community. We're always studying how to make our roads better, how to make our trails better, how to improve our stormwater drainage, and all these different things that we do to try to improve the quality of life for all of our citizens. And I feel like this is one more tool that we can put in that toolbox to try to make sure that our city is really adequately serving everyone in our community. So I just wanted to thank you for your work, and I really look forward to what kind of a report you bring forward to us to see how we can continue to get better at serving everyone in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. There you go. There's not a whole lot I can add to Councilmember Shields' comments. The main thing is I want to thank you all again. I didn't know exactly what quite to expect tonight. You guys have more than answered any question that I had or perception that I might have had. And it clearly shows that you all are very committed, you and the entire committee, and that's very much appreciated. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Forte.
I just want to tell you, I appreciate what you all have done too, and I've listened. I've probably been one person who has been, I popped in on, I see, you've seen me on your calls where I'll just pop in on a Zoom call and thinking I can just listen, and I've really learned an awful lot about each one of you on those that I've listened to, but I have some questions, and I don't know if you want to go up there. The ones, it's just the most questions I have is on the business, so it would probably be Fred Grogan. Yeah, if you could do that. And then I just have one other statement, and I think for Ms. Schuler, I think you said that you were going to speak with the Health and Education Advisory Board. I'm on that board as a liaison. We haven't even had a meeting on that board since January of this year. So when that happens, maybe that board can get a little bit more active, because the last meeting that they had was January, I think. So, and those co-chairs are great. I'd like to see them meet again, but we haven't had a meeting. So hopefully you'll be able to get somewhere with that. Okay, my question, and I listened to a very interesting meeting that you all had about businesses. And I think that Fred, you said that, it's okay if I call you Fred. I've just known you too long not to call you Fred.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine, Diane.
Okay, thank you. So, and I noticed that you were really very methodical about separating it out to 25, you thought 25 businesses.
20 to 25.
Okay,
yes.
and each would take 4 or 5. You had a
Right,
group of
right.
people. I couldn't understand, because I couldn't jump in there and ask questions. What size businesses are you looking at?
What we're going to try to do is, it's a fairly small sample to try to be very representative of the entire business community. But what we hope to do is to have a fairly representative group of larger mixed in with middle-sized, mixed in with smaller. And while we won't be able to get down into the weeds of all the differences that could exist, we also want to try to include different kinds of businesses, so that we don't plan just to talk with banks, let's say, but we want to talk with those that are involved in finance, those might be involved in retail, those that might be in restaurants, in services, so that we get some kind of mix with that. But the purpose of those initial interviews is not so much to collect data points, but is really to help us know what businesses themselves are struggling with, what they feel that they're doing well in, what kind of help that might be available to them, where they see themselves and the community. And then we hope to use that information to inform us when we go out to survey the larger group of businesses.
That answers my question. Okay. I was hoping that is what you were going to do, versus asking questions, but more listening to where they are. And I can see where bigger businesses, they've got plans set.
Right.
Middle businesses, they might have something started, like I think someone said a plan, then you put it aside and it's not working. But then smaller businesses, those are the ones that I was more concerned with,
Yeah.
was how it would affect them with the group of people and going in. And I know you will do that in the utmost sweetest, nicest way, but it could come off in a smaller business not that way. And of course, I'm coming from the small business person, so that would be where I would talk about that.
And Diane, that's part of the reason that we want to communicate with them ahead of time, to send out a PowerPoint presentation to them, so everyone will see the same. It won't be different information, and then we will at least use as discussion questions the same questions with everyone, so that we're not mixing apples and oranges in terms of what we're discussing with them and the information we're bringing back.
And you are, if I'm not mistaken, waiting for the consultant before that happens?
Well, no. we were waiting before we report to you, before we start going out into the community, so that if you had questions or had concerns, you could express those and we could take those into account.
Okay. I mean, I know what you all are trying to do, and I think it's admirable. There are so many. I was taking so many notes, and I know that. And I'm not going to look at my notes, but the youth advisory, and I know Rachel was on that one, and you all did such a good job. But I was thinking, how in the world? This is so much to do on each one of those. But so those are my concerns as to how you navigate through all of this.
Diane, I think your comment about small businesses is particularly a good one, because I think in many ways they have an even harder time with this issue, because you have organizations that may have, 1 to 5 employees for that matter. So being able to find ways to include diversity is really difficult for them, but in some ways it's really important to their business as well too, to try to make sure they are addressing that.
Well, you know what? I think that sometimes in small business, it is a lot of different diversity in the fact that you don't even know what kind of diversity you're walking into in some small businesses. So,
exactly.
But I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Felker. Thank you.
Thank you, chairs, and everyone else who's presented this evening. Just my questions are probably a bit more technical on a couple things, just so I'm getting some clarity. So when our resolution, we encourage you to develop that vision statement to present to us. And so what I see now, the resolution indicates you're going to present a vision and an action plan for us at the conclusion of your work. And what I think I'm seeing from the overall presentation is that you've provided a vision statement, and that then you're going to also include, I think, and Ms. Schuler and the committee for the issue identification committee and so forth, you're going to then create also a mission statement and then an action plan to follow. Am I understanding that? I'm getting a nod as in a yes, as that's how you intend to kind of carry it out. Because part of the process here that we talked about as a council is you all as a commission bringing this to us for our consideration and adoption. And so I guess I'm just trying to make sure I understand that vision statement, which I like. I love how it reads. I love when I think about this and I think of the conversations I've had with people on this topic, this is what I like seeing, that kind of focus for our community. So I think I'm saying this as something of a statement and question at the same time that our role as a council is to take all of your input, including what I think is a very well thought out vision statement, which I suppose could change after everything's said and done. You all may come back and amend that vision statement. You may, I don't know that it needs a lot of changing, but it could. So again, kind of a couple comments in that regard. And then my other question is, since the role of the commission and the subcommittees is to kind of dive into various issues and have conversations with business owners and others throughout the community, how much involvement is the commission having with incorporating legal and protection? I'm thinking about the fact that we're talking about sensitive topics, and this is where I may ask Mr. Head if he has any comments. What kind of how are we incorporating safeguards from a legal perspective, just to make sure conversations that are being had, and I'm no expert in any of these areas, but it seems to implicate or that there could be someone may have an issue with questions that might be asked, and I don't know what those would be, but I'm just curious to know what involvement there is from city staff and Mr. Head, maybe with legal, in being a part of that process.
At this point, the law department hasn't been involved in this process. I would anticipate that the law department would become involved at the point at which there are recommendations for things that the city actually needs to do. So if we need personnel policies or policies related to procurement or whatever it might be, I'm pulling two things completely out of the air. We would certainly become involved at that time in reviewing those. But up until this point, we have not been involved in the discussions that have been had. I know Mr. Arbo talked about Dana Cutler being someone who could kind of come and help along with this work. I know Dana would be very involved in the discussion so far as and she would be involved in all of it, but she would also be more involved in the law department in the discussions about the community priorities, those types of things. I think that would be more in her bailiwick, and sort of the employment policies and things like that for the city would be more within ours.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Well, again, I don't know what kind of a can I'm opening. I wonder if in that process there's been consideration of the legal implications of asking business owners and others various questions that could, I don't know that it causes a problem, but again.
Well, as Mr. Head said, legal has not been involved. However, as a commission, we have taken, I think, one initial step is to make it clear in our communications that we are a commission of the city council, and as such, there is a responsibility that we have in terms of representing you as a council. So I can't think of any questions at this point that would present a legal challenge in our discussions with the community. We're certainly open to working with legal counsel if some of these things would arise or questions would arise. But I think our experience, Dr. Wilson can speak to this as well, but I think our experience is that typically asking a question about diversity does not light a fire for legal challenge necessarily. We don't have any authority over a business to do anything that they don't want to do. We don't have any authority over any citizen. We're a commission. We're asking questions for the good of the city, and as the charge is to try to create a better quality of life for the city.
And I think to your point, some questions can be very charged and get people riled up. We have paid very good attention to making sure questions are neutral and not controversial in any way. So, of course, anybody can get upset about anything, but we've made a concerted effort to make them neutral and non-provocative.
Right, and to that point, and Councilmember Forte, I want to go back to your question. Fred may have said this, but I want to make sure that we did have discussion within our meeting about how do we approach businesses, how do we approach organizations. We mentioned that we are creating a common language. We will not be going into the community expecting that every business that we talk to or every citizen that we talk to understands that language or has the same interpretation. So you saw on most of the bullet points, we talked about the importance of education, the importance of bringing the community along so that we understand and we can speak with that commonality of voice and understanding of what direction, where we're headed with diversity and inclusion. So we're sensitive to that. And we have had discussions both as a commission as a whole, but in the committees. So we're taking this charge very seriously, and we understand that there's a lot at stake, and we want to make sure that we continue to do work that the council, the city, the mayor will be proud of.
I mean, I think you've heard from others today. We're grateful for what you're doing and appreciate all the effort and work you've done. Certainly, I know there are many of you, neighbor, Susan, we're in the same neighborhood, just so you know. I live around the corner from you. Yep. And I know there's members of your commission that have a lot of experience with this. So, I mean, I trust your judgment and process. For me, it was kind of a question of just trying to learn and understand what issues, if there are any. But again, thank you for everyone who's shared and all the work that you're doing. It sounds like you're putting in a lot of work, and that's not easy. That's not a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask for people. So
we're being paid well.
Very good. I mean, dedicating time to something means you care about it, and you care about our community. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeMauro.
Thank you, Mayor. Alan, Dr. Wilson, thank you very much for the presentation. All the subcommittee chairmen and everybody from the committee, thank you for coming and spending time with us. I do appreciate the dialogue, and I appreciate the presentation, the preparation of the presentation, very concise, very to the point, and I think it was well stated, and just being brief. Thank you all again, and most of all, the measured approach. I support that. I really like that. I think that's the way to go, and I think you guys have it down. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, Ms. Wilson, is it Dr. or Ms.? Thank you, because
Doctor.
I did not see doctor, but people keep calling you doctor, and so I want to call you by the proper name.
So noted.
Thank you very much. Okay, first I would just like to thank all of you for everything you're doing for the city and for taking this charge, because it is not an easy one, and we do know that. And Dr. Wilson, I've heard you say up here that you are working to have every voice heard, and I really do appreciate that. And I'm going to take a page from Councilmember Johnson's playbook over here and just really speak to what's important. And I wouldn't say the most important thing to me, but what I've had the most experience with. And that's the female voice being hushed or in some way trying to be disregarded and then taken up later as somebody else's voice. And I just want to make sure that, as you said before, diversity is who is in the room. And I've been in many of those rooms. Inclusions is actually being included in the process. And I have had to fight numerous times to be included, even though I was in the room. So could you tell me what you are doing just to ensure that that female voice is not being disregarded, not being hushed out, and making sure that any female on this committee or commission or that is talked to in the community knows that their voice is welcome and wants to be heard?
Well, I think I'm particularly sensitive to that issue, given having some of the same experiences you have had, where you have a great idea and you express the idea, and then Randy over here says the same thing, and they said, "Oh, Randy, let's go with that. Let's put a budget to it," and you're sitting there saying, "My chopped liver." So I'm very sensitive to that issue, and because women are at least half of the population of Lee Summit, we would be remiss if we didn't include those voices. And in our committee structure itself, you can see women are represented there, and we plan to continue making sure that won't be a voice that's snuffed out somehow.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. One minute, please, Alan.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. But also, could you speak to the community when you go into the community to speak to these businesses or any other organizations that you're going to be speaking to, and making sure that female voice is pulled out of those too? Because I understand that on this commission, which you can pretty much control, that might be an easy thing for you guys to do. But to actually get out there and let those voices be heard, even if it means saying, "Can we speak to this person?"
Well, I do think that the list of businesses we come up with have to include women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. Because, again, if we didn't do that, we'd be overlooking a major aspect of diversity in business. So I know that that's something that we're planning to do.
Councilwoman, I just want to say, as the father of two daughters who remind me continually that they are strong women, I would be remiss, no, I would be crazy not to make sure that the voices of women are not heard. I think I got that right. Make sure that the voices of women are heard throughout this process. And as Dr. Wilson pointed out, you can note the composition of our commission as chairs, and we're sensitive to that. And I assure you that we will take every measure possible to make sure that those voices continue to be heard.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I just have a couple of questions. The assessment study, we've heard you talk about what you want to get and gather and how much it's going to cost, but do we have any idea how long it's going to take to get that? Once we bring that group in, like how long is...
They're very much aware of our timeline, and they would like to begin as early as, well, I think they can do this easily within 2 to 3 months. So that gives them another 3 months to prepare the report, that 12-month clock that we have. There should be a good 2 to 3 months before that this the Diversity and Inclusion Commission has their report and can begin synthesizing that and preparing for that 12-month report for you all.
Great. Thank you. So about 3 months, we think. Okay. And then, Dr. Wilson, earlier you spoke of the major points and perspectives that you're going to try and pull out of the demographic profile. Is that what this assessment study is really going to go after?
No, but I
Okay.
think that's one way to look at diversity, but that's not the only way. Because, demographic studies don't always collect all the data about diversity that exists in a community. So that's one aspect, and I think we'll be looking at other elements as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you guys
And
for all
I'd
of your
like to
work.
comment also that it's important as we go through this process. This isn't just about data and numbers. This is about people. This is about relationships. This is about how we interact with each other. It's about how we work to make Lee Summit a better community. And so those are some of the things that we're going to emphasize. The data we'll use that and apply that as necessary. But we want to make sure that as we communicate, as we talk to people throughout this community, that we understand we're talking about affecting lives. We're talking about how our children and our grandchildren are going to live in this community in the future. And so that's how I guess that's the seriousness behind this effort. And I just want to assure you that the assessment is needed. It is needed. But the relationship building in Lee Summit is needed also.
Councilmember?
Question. One more question that I forgot to ask. So you said 7 commissions, and you said that the city committee had not been started yet. When is that, or how is that, or who is that, or?
Well, that committee will start after the assessment comes online.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I think you heard a lot of positives as far as thanking you for your work. So I just want to echo that and say, appreciate, your diligence. I mean, you've been hardworking, but you've when we started this, when we started got Miss Cutler involved, she was able to help us, get on the same page and find the right words, and you guys have just really communicated well with us and given us a lot to consider. We'll take this forward, and we'll have more discussions, so stay tuned. But we do want you to know that we appreciate your work, and I know that you heard that, but it's really meaningful in more ways than you can imagine. So. And I know that you're on the ground floor of this, but it's important to our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 9:40. So the question, what we're going to do is we're going to punt a closed session, and we're going to try to bust it through this council, the rest of this council agenda. Okay? Thank you, sir. I would take a break so I could thank you all, so we could all thank you all in person, but we only got 20 minutes and we got to get out of here. So thank you so much, really. So we are going to do item 8A. You know what? That's so weird. I don't have, maybe my mayor's agenda's over here to tell me who's reading what. Okay, here it is. Oh, Councilmember Shields. You're starting us off, girl. Councilmember Shields is starting us off with bill number 21-249.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for second reading Bill Number 21-249, an ordinance approving the award of bid number 2022-029 to purchase electrical services and materials on an as-needed basis for a one-year term with up to 4 one-year renewals from Greenwood Energy Solutions, LLC, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same for the city.
Second.
Was that you? I have a motion to move bill number 21-249 to second reading by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 It's a roll call.
It does?
Yeah, I'll
Come
do it fast.
on.
Ready? Let's see how
Yep.
fast you can do it.
Roll call.
DeMoro.
Aye.
Felker. Carlisle.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Forte.
Aye.
Lopez. Edson. Shields.
Aye.
Baird.
Aye. All right, that was good. We need that read for adoption, Ms. Councilmember Shields,
I
please.
can do that. I now move for adoption Bill Number 21-249, an ordinance approving the award of bid number 2022-029 to purchase electrical services and materials on an as-needed basis for a one-year term with up to 4 one-year renewals from Greenwood Energy Solutions, LLC, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same for the city.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt bill number 21-249 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Forte. Thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeMoro.
Aye.
Felker. Carlisle.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Forte.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Edson. Shields.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Very good. That bill's adopted. Councilmember Edson, would you please read bill number 21-250? Councilmember Shields, would you please read bill number 21-250?
Thank you, Mayor. I now move for second reading Bill Number 21-250, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri through the Lee Summit Parks and Recreation Board and Jackson County, Missouri Parks and Recreation for facility use to support programming for various Jackson County parks and recreation programs and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading bill number 21-250 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
DeMoro.
Aye.
Felker. Carlisle.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Forte.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Edson. Shields.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. I now move for adoption Bill Number 21-250, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri through the Lee Summit Parks and Recreation Board and Jackson County, Missouri Parks and Recreation for facility use to support programming for various Jackson County parks and recreation programs and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt bill number 21-250 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Edson. Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Forte.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Felker. Councilmember DeMoro.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Was that for adoption? That was for adoption. Councilmember Shields, do you want to do the next one too? This would be bill number 21-251.
Sure. I move for a second reading Bill Number 21-251, an ordinance approving the 2022 Jackson County Board of Election Commissioners poll contracts for the Level Community Center, Harris Park Community Center, Longview Community Center, and Gamber Center, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same by and on behalf of the city.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading bill number 21-251 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Forte. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Edson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Forte.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Felker. Councilmember DeMoro.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
Sure. I now move for adoption Bill number 21-251, an ordinance approving the 2022 Jackson County Board of Election Commissioners poll contracts for the Level Community Center, Harris Park Community Center, Longview Community Center, and Gamber Center, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same by and on behalf of the city.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 21-251 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Edson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Forte?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Felker? Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill's adopted. Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle, would you want to read for adoption Bill number 21-247?
Sure, but I can't do it that good, so bear with me. Bill number 21-247, an ordinance approving the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission cost share agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the state project number J4P3196 for the 291 North and Highway 50 interchange project be adopted.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt Bill number 21-247 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Felker? Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
No.
Councilmember Forte?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Edson?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill's adopted. 8-1. Councilmember DeMoro, would you please read Bill number 21-248?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 21-248, an ordinance approving the cooperative agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Lee Summit R7 School District for the 291 North and Highway 50 interchange project.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 21-248 by Councilmember DeMoro, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Felker.
I'll be abstaining from this, as previously noted, because of a conflict of interest.
Thank you, sir. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Edson?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Forte?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. The bill's adopted. All right, that takes us to committee reports. Councilmember DeMoro.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment on the Public Works meeting yesterday evening. We had several important projects. I just wanted to highlight the resolution that we moved to the full City Council for revenue bonds for the Middle Big Creek Sub-District Sewer District. And if it's a great presentation, and I'll just tell people, watch it. It's going to help the City of Lee Summit and the surrounding communities. We are the largest community in the Little Blue Sewer District, which Middle Big Creek is a subsidiary of that. But it starts at 14 minutes and 27 seconds, and in the big picture, it's going to really help the City of Lee Summit, the entire city. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that, because it's a big deal. And we've got partners that are supporting us. Councilmember Felker.
Rules Committee is scheduled to meet next Monday at noon. I think we're doing it by Zoom. So, and it sounds like we may have some hot item on our agenda from tonight. So, I think the prime time will be about 5:43. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but tune in at 5:43.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Council comments? Nope. It was a great night. Hard work. Joint meeting like that. I thought it went really fabulous with the school district and the back and forth. So thank you all for. I don't know. You guys were really on top of things tonight and helping keep me on track since we're in this weird spot. Yeah, we're going to do staff roundtable. Yep. That's all right. But we're going to skip the closed session. Council roundtable, or staff roundtable. What? We didn't make Ryan Elam talk, Mark Dunning talk. It was the Crystal show tonight. All right. All right. Well, well done again. We're going to adjourn this meeting at this time, and it's 9:50.